sailing, things are well. What facts belong, it's hard to say. Your pattern is so hard to tell. But we're together, that's our game. Round and round and round we go. The dance ain't over, I'm sure we're still the same. Love the ways you make us whole.
So now every serious cruiser should have Rio Dulce on their map and should consider staying there, especially if you're going to stay in the Caribbean and want to hide from hurricane season, or you want to venture off to the big pond, and that is the Panama Canal and the Pacific Island. It's an ideal place. We've been there for 6 months, and we're going to tell you the top reasons to go there and also some things that aren't quite so nice.
By the way, hello.
Hi, you all, and by the way, if you love all of this great content that's just artfully delivered, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share, and give us some comments. We want to hear from you. We want to respond to your comments. So right now, let's get on to why we were in Guatemala.
Why we want to recommend going to Guatemala for hurricane season. We think it's a great place to go, but you have to be very careful because many people go and never leave.
Also, some people use it as a base to stay during the summertime, and then they travel to the Caymans, to Jamaica, to Belize, Honduras, and then back. But they do all that when it's not hurricane season. So it's just a different place to be based at for cruising, or it's a great waypoint if you're passing through it.
So one of the best reasons why it is a great place to be for hurricane season is that it is 20 nautical miles inland from the Caribbean, surrounded by mountains. So you're in this valley and you are really well protected. So that's one of the reasons. You never worry about wind. You never check weather once you're in there. It's pretty amazing that way. You just begin to relax.
Well, and that passage through the winding mountains from Livingston to Rio Dulce is epic. It is like a bucket list for full-time cruisers that is not to be missed.
And the boat is also happy in the Rio because the water is fresh. Everything gets a really good freshwater rinse.
You know those outboards, we know each one of you does a freshwater flush when you pull it up on the davits, right?
We just released that video
we
a few
did,
weeks ago.
But like us, it's more of a chance that you don't, and the outboard motor really benefits from that too. If you have saltwater toilets, you don't have all that scaling and stuff building up in your hoses. It is a real break for the boat. It sure is.
So another reason why we loved being in the Rio is based upon a couple of videos ago when we talked about projects that we completed in the Rio Dulce. It's one of the best places to complete projects because you can get great skilled labor there and the price is so good as well.
Yeah, check that video out if you hadn't watched it. That's essential if you're considering coming to Guatemala for hurricane season.
Another great feature of the Rio Dulce is the food and restaurants. The prices are amazing and the food quality is really, really good.
Yeah, the restaurants are great. Granted, they have a lower cost for labor, and also Guatemala is an incredibly fertile country, and there's also like lots of ranches for cattle to grow livestock. So those raw ingredients that you're going to be having, it's going to be cheap, it's going to be healthy. Boy, I wish we would have had that in the Bahamas, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in the Bahamas basically had dinner for each other because there were no restaurants. Here, you can meet people in town, it's cheap drinks, just a whole different culture when it comes to cuisine.
There is a difference in the prices between the local restaurants and the more Western restaurants, and a huge difference actually.
Yes.
You can get great tacos and burritos and Guatemalan fare, but then you could also get burgers and pizza and all kinds of Western products as well.
Yeah, we love the local places and they're just everywhere.
One of the things I really loved about being there, especially after being in the Bahamas, was the amount of fruits and vegetables that you have access to and the quality of those as well. I can't believe how tasty the papayas and the watermelons and the cantaloupes were. But then you realize they just pulled them off of the field and brought them straight into town. So you're going almost from food to market right away.
So you're gonna eat healthy stuff, really good tasting stuff, whether you cook it yourself, buy it at a grocery store or fruit stand, or whether you go out to dinner.
There were 2 grocery stores when we arrived. One was called Despensa and the other La Torre. Unfortunately, Despensa did close midway through our time there, so there is only La Torre, and it is a bit on the pricier side, but it does stock pretty much everything that you could possibly want. Another aspect of staying on the Rio that we loved was the medical care. So we're on our way to Morales now. This morning I'm headed to an eye doctor. The doctor is Dr. Morales in the town of Morales. How funny is that?
Inside, in this inner part of the eye, we have like a gel liquid that is called the bitches.
I just finished with my appointment. It's really hard to see in the light, but had a good appointment and it seems like everything is going to be okay. Just needs time to heal. So just love the medical facilities here, and the doctors are just amazing. The availability and the price of medical care, it was pretty incredible. We started with going to the dentist, which was a dinghy ride from our boat, and you actually bring the dinghy straight up to the dock and get off, and there's the dentist's office. The doctor really caters to cruisers, which is wonderful and has a great reputation.
If you're like us, you probably have catastrophic health care, because health care is expensive in the U.S., just the cost of it and insurance.
All right, babe, $45 dental cleaning.
Yep.
How do you feel?
Great.
Good.
Yeah. In the clinic in the middle of the jungle.
Yeah, literally.
But we went ahead and got all of our doctor's appointments and stuff done before we went back to the U.S. Why not save the money, and then we got more time to visit with friends and family when we get back. We could get everything done here. We had the best dermatologist that I've ever been to.
So we went to see the dermatologist in Guatemala City. We had a full physical with blood work and a meeting with a cardiologist. And then I went to see a retinal specialist in the city.
So this is a normal OCT. Here we are seeing the vitreous detaching.
And we also had the dentist, so I'll put those prices up so that you can see the cost of each of those visits.
Oh, and one thing that I've noticed about the doctors in Guatemala is that they really spend time with you to get to know you, to ask a lot of those important questions that will aid in their diagnosis. I find in the U.S. that it's all about the money. Time is of the essence. You're paying more and you get less time, and you're just on a track in and out of there. Not so much in Guatemala. People just slow down here when they're doing everything, and it really helps when it comes to professional medical care. Did
And
you
all of
notice
them,
the same thing?
Yes, and all of them spoke English. Which
Yes,
was amazing.
absolutely.
Fluently.
Yes, totally.
One of the best things that we discovered when we were in Guatemala was the inland travel opportunities.
Oh my goodness.
It's an amazing country. I was in Guatemala 20 some odd years ago for a friend of mine's wedding and saw Atitlan and Antigua then, but for a very short time, only about a week. And revisiting that and then also getting to Tikal and Flores was truly amazing. So we're gonna have some separate videos on that travel because it's just too much to share in just this short time.
I don't know why more people don't come to Guatemala. What I recommend is save these to a little bit later in your trip so that you make sure you get all your boat work done and reward yourself with the inland travel toward the end of your trip.
One of the really interesting things about the Rio is that everyone comes and then leaves their boat in a marina and usually does either inland travel or travel back to their home. The reason is that the marinas are really inexpensive. When you're going to the Rio, do your research and find out what marina is going to be best for you. Some do allow boat work, but some do not. That's an important thing to find out. And do they charge an additional fee for workers to come? Do they have a pool? Do they have really strong Wi-Fi? Some of the marinas we were in had a great Wi-Fi and others did not. These are really important things to ask and to consider.
There are like 40 marinas there, and each one of them is going to have its own culture, its own family. Probably not a bad idea to try a few of them unless you know some people that you can really trust, point you in the right direction from the get-go.
The cost for the marinas, it was pretty much standardized across all of the marinas. It was about $12 a day for Catamaran, about half that for a monohull, and then water is free, but then you have to pay in addition to that for electricity. But everything else is included, like Wi-Fi and the pool, if you have a pool. We were very grateful for the people at Catamaran Marina. While we were gone, they really looked after our boat. There were several major tropical storms that came through the marina while we were gone, and they were great about walking around and just adjusting everyone's fenders and keeping an eye on the boats. As a matter of fact, once our boat let its line go and was sitting perpendicular to the dock instead of parallel to the dock, and thankfully they were able to quickly resolve that. So they really take good care of your boat while you're there.
A lot of people just leave their boat down there year-round and just fly in and fly out because it's so cheap, and then they know people are always going to be looking out after it. They have really everything they need there, so why go anywhere else and complicate things?
One thing that really impressed us was the amount of humanitarian support and aid that was given by the cruising community to the locals. It was just really everywhere you turned, someone was helping the locals and working in conjunction with the locals, not just giving to them, but working alongside them. It was amazing. You could pretty much get involved with something every day of the week.
And there are small things that make a huge difference in people's lives, especially if they're starting with nothing. Simple things like an old solar panel that's on your boat and a burnt out AGM battery could really mean enough power to power a medical device for somebody who doesn't have power, who's a local. And these guys,
or a light bulb.
Yeah, or a light bulb, or charge a phone. And there's lots of basic things, you know, supplying water, food and shelter, and then just local engineering projects that the cruisers are involved with. And it is almost like a race to see who can do the most good things, isn't it?
It is.
It's crazy. And the longer you're down there, you're thinking, well, maybe I'm not going to get involved. I don't have anything to give. But you'll find something or team up with somebody down there who's become your new best friend, and you'll get involved. They just kind of suck you into it, and it's wonderful. You develop a love for the sweet Guatemalan people. They're just wonderful, and you know, you really do want to help them.
Yes, the Guatemalan people are so kind and so helpful and loving, and wow, the generosity is pretty amazing. And we did fall in love with the people from
Absolutely.
our travels, but then also in the Rio Dulce area. Similar to Georgetown, Bahamas, there is a very robust and vibrant cruiser community. A lot of that is because the cruisers stay in the area year-round, and they want to stay connected, and it's really important on the Rio to stay connected. There is a daily cruisers net.
Each day is just carefree and predictable.
The cruiser net is also an incredible resource for all things about Guatemala, about the Rio, for travel, for help, for emergencies. Everyone there wants to help you, and they will go out of their way to make sure you have the information that you need, or find it if they don't have it, which is just a great thing if you're new to the Rio. The Facebook page is incredibly helpful with a whole list of local resources, from doctors to people who fix things or give massages. There's so much information on the Facebook group alone that you can have all of your questions answered just by doing a search in that.
I mean, they've got a system down pat down there, and that's probably a fundamental reason why a lot of people come back. Just have a great community.
They also have swap meets and opportunities to sell things. There's a Facebook page for sell, buy, or give away, and that works really well too. We sold many things on that.
Treasures from the bilge.
You'll only understand that if you listen to the Cruiser's Net in the morning. One of the things that we were really concerned about when we were planning to go to Guatemala was the safety aspect. And we did a lot of research to determine what was truth and what was exaggerated. And
we had a lot of people say, don't go.
Yeah.
There's too much crime. There's too much pollution. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get robbed.
As a matter of fact, we spent 2.5 months on anchor in the bay, and we were told you better move every couple of nights, be really unpredictable.
It's super safe, and the Cruiser's Net is a reason why we know it's safe. First thing on the agenda before they talk about anything else is security. And the locals also do not want anything to interfere with the cruising community that's coming down, because they bring tons of money in business. And listen, all it takes is one instance to provide a bad reputation for 10 years.
But you also have to be smart, right? When you leave your boat, you lock it.
Yeah.
At night, you raise your dinghy and your davits. So there are some basic things that you can do to prevent or ward off crime that could happen. And we did that and never had an incident. The Rio Dulce is so beautiful. One of the things that we loved about being there was just the beauty of the river and the mountains. It's really natural. You're living in the jungle, so you're hearing howler monkeys every morning. And birds, and it's also sweltering like the jungle. But I think one of the things that I loved was how many different places we could go just around the Rio. And there were some cruisers that were great about organizing trips, which we benefited from. Thank you, Anna. Places like Agua Calientes, which is a hot waterfall that has cold springs. We did a trip to Frutas del Mundo, which was a place where
organic farm, and they also sell seedlings for trees and plants, so you can buy them. It's like a nursery also.
Yeah, we tried 30 different fruits on
Crazy.
That day. It was
and
amazing.
They had lunch there. It's pretty incredible.
We hiked up to the Shaman Tower, which is a beautiful hike up to a tower that overlooks the Rio Dulce. We sailed up to Lago Isabel, which is just a beautiful, beautiful sail, and the lake is gorgeous, and there's not many people there. We often went on the pipeline walk to just get some exercise, which is very hilly. We visited Quirigua, which is the most famous site for the Mayan steles. It's the best steles that exist in the world now. So lots of things to do on the Rio, things that you don't want to miss while you're there. And that's just the local trips, let alone the extended trips that we also did.
Would you say they're stellar? Stellar Stelly? The type of cruisers that are coming down here, everybody's wearing a t-shirt. It's very relaxed and casual here. And you don't see the big fancy yachts and big sailboats and that type of thing that you see in the Bahamas or southern Florida. This is just not their kind of place. It's more down to earth people. I just like the unpolished, casual, comfortable aspect of everything down here, including the boats and the people and the marinas
and the town, just so raw.
And it's just crazy, and you feel like you're gonna go run over on this main street, and you're like, man, if I can survive that, I can survive anything.
I think one of the things that we loved as well was learning Spanish. No one speaks English, or very few people speak English. We were highly motivated to learn Spanish because we were using it all the time, and it was actually helpful.
When I first got down there, I was thinking I can get out of learning Spanish. I was kind of relying on her language abilities, but I felt totally lost not being able to say just basic things. Now I'm speaking some Spanish.
Yeah, you're doing great, actually.
Yeah.
Habla inglés. Habla inglés.
All right, let's flip the script here and talk about some of the downsides of being on the Rio for 5 months. There aren't very many, but there are a few that we want to mention.
And these are not reasons not to come. We just want you to be aware of them.
Yes. So the first one is that the river is dirty, it is brown because
it's a river.
muddy.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not the Bahamas.
It's sweet water, but it is not clear water. And there's also a lot of raw sewage that is being dumped into the river. So you're probably not going to want to swim in it, and you probably wouldn't want to put your head underwater anyway if you did. The other surprise that we had from our previous video of our arrival in Rio Dulce was the presence of mayflies. And they, I have to say, literally changed our lives.
Yep, this is getting old really fast. It's so disgusting.
So let's talk about the first night that we're there.
The first night that we were there, it was the worst because we didn't know about it. And you can go back and look at our old video on what actually happened.
What's inconvenience to you is also a sign that the ecosystem in the Rio Dulce is very healthy. Mayflies means everything's really balanced and plentiful.
These mayflies, when they're wet, they smell like dead fish. So every day we're doing this, and then we have to clean because it smells like dead fish, everything that's left over. Anyway, downside of Rio Dulce.
Mayflies are a very important part of that unique ecosystem.
Definitely. Unfortunately, it really affected how we lived our life in the sense that once it became dark, we could not turn any white lights on and even had to reduce red light because they are attracted to it. So for about 2 hours, hour and a half, every night, you had to really close down the boat and shut the doors and windows and sort of live like a hermit.
I'd highly recommend definitely getting some red lights on the boat. Get some air conditioning, working on your boat. And we used them for a few hours every single night, and it made all of the difference. And we never used air conditioning at all in the Bahamas, and we were never in southern Florida. During the summertime, we were always up in New England, never had a reason to use it until we came down to Guatemala. It's serious, the heat down here, and you need to be ready for it. And let me tell you, mayflies, it's false advertising. It's not just May. Down in the Rio, it's every month. Some months are worse than others, but the presence of them is nonstop.
So one of the other downsides to the Rio Dulce is the distance from Guatemala City. It is a long way, and depending on the traffic, you could spend anywhere from a minimum of 6 hours on the bus all the way to, we've heard, 24 hours with a bad accident, because there's only one road that goes from the Rio to Guatemala City. Now the bus is really cheap, it's super comfortable. It cost us $16 a piece for this 7-hour ride, and it was air conditioned with USB plugs, but a bit of an issue if you didn't know what was going to happen with traffic.
They also had a great place to stop midway through. It's a great local cafeteria, the food's cheap. It's really good, it's packed. The ride never seemed really inconvenient or too long. We thought it was just an extension of the Guatemalan experience.
Until we flew back. We're spoiled forever.
Yeah, we'll show you a video on that. Thanks, Ted and Gail.
And it took 35 minutes instead of 6 hours.
Here's a little version of that.
When we were in the Bahamas, we always swam and snorkeled and loved being in the water. So that didn't happen in the Rio. So we had to be a lot more intentional about our exercise and workout. There are opportunities, but you do have to get in your dinghy and go. Walking in town is a little rough because of all of the traffic and the uneven side. Well, there are not sidewalks. There's no sidewalks. It's very uneven concrete, but you can walk up on top of the bridge.
This is our health club. This is what we do to get the heart rate up. You don't know what you're missing out on. You got to meet us down here in Rio Dulce.
It's a glorious disaster is what it is. We love it.
And we love it.
And we're going to miss that main street going through Frontera. You can get everything there, but you better watch getting run over by a truck.
So those were some of the downsides to the Rio, but by far the Rio is just such an amazing place. It was really hard to say goodbye to the Rio and to the friends that we had made there.
We miss it. We want you guys to go, and we want to enjoy it through your fresh eyes.
We hope this video helped you. We hope that you're able to get to Guatemala if you have the opportunity by boat. We think it would be life-changing like it was for us.
And then also, if you don't have a boat, we hope that this has really helped fill you in so you feel like you have been there and experienced it.
Yeah, or you can fly there and experience it by land, which is equally amazing.
Yeah, you got to do it.
And we want to say thank you so much to our patrons who support us both with encouragement and financially.
Our viewers.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our viewers and anyone who has gotten this far in the video. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys. We love
Bye.
you.